Now, I'm an adamant believer that horror films don't cause crimes, just like video games don't make you want to steal a car or rob a bank. Well, at least that's me anyway. But a few of these numbers on our list certainly challenge that belief. With the genre as bloodthirsty as horror, it's not far reached to imagine that some unstable minds might find solace in an on-screen serial killer or vampire. So today on Top 5 Scary Videos, we're going to be listing off the 5 scary horror movies that came true. Before we begin, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to a few of your comments. Let's jump in.
What have you done to it?
In at 5, Saw. There are 8 films in the Saw franchise, each focusing on gruesome and bloody ways to torture a human being in order to judge their moral compass. The sadistic killer Jigsaw sets up torturous challenges for each new victim, mutilating themselves in order to earn freedom, or a slow and painful death. We all know the story, but in a shocking turn of events it crossed over from fiction into reality in 2009 when 2 teenage boys, 14 and 15, were charged with 3 counts of conspiracy to commit aggravated kidnapping after someone overheard the boys planning to kidnap, torture and murder a group of people. They had planned to set up a series of Saw-style games for each of their targets in order to teach them a lesson for supposedly harming others. They had even set up cameras to document their games, much like the sadistic killer does in the Saw movies. In at 4, The Conjuring. We're all familiar with the Conjuring films, especially on this channel. 2 paranormal investigators and demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren summoned to the home of the parents after a supernatural presence had made itself known. It's a frightening tale, but more frightening still, the actors in the film were subjects of weird goings on during filming. During the making of the film, the real family visited the set several times, but Carolyn, the mother, refused to set foot anywhere near the set. Various bizarre happenings began to occur. While the parent family were visiting, strong winds seemed to surround them, even during still days where no trees were blowing. During this time, Carolyn was sat at home in Atlanta and reported feeling an evil presence in her home, before she fell and was taken to the hospital. Even the director James Wan reported strange goings on, saying that one night while working late in his office, his dog began to violently growl. He investigated but found nothing, yet the dog continued, staring into a corner at some unseen entity. Not long after, the dog's head began to move, as though following something across the room. In at 3, Scream. In 1996, Scream was released, one of the many trailblazers in the slasher subgenre. It was an instant classic. Although a somewhat comedic film, it surprisingly inspired a few real-life events shortly after its release. In 1998, Mario Padilla, a 16-year-old, and his 14-year-old cousin confessed to the stabbing of Gina Castillo, Padilla's mother. The 14-year-old confessed to holding her down while Padilla stabbed her 45 times. The crime was referred to as the Scream murder, after they confessed to being inspired by the film, plotting to go on a murder spree, even purchasing 2 ghost face masks as seen in the films, as well as a voice changer. In at 2, Queen of the Damned. Released in 2002, Queen of the Damned follows the legendary vampire Lestat, who has reinvented himself as an American rock star in the music scene, awakening Acacia, the queen of all vampires, from her slumber. She vowed to make Lestat her king. However, during this time, a young woman from London falls in love with the rock star vampire, creating quite the pickle. Now, in 2002, Alan Menzies murdered his friend Thomas McKendrick after Menzies claimed he had been visited one night by Acacia, the female vampire from the film, who had supposedly offered him eternal life as a vampire if he killed the people she told him to. Once Menzies murdered McKendrick with a hammer, he drank his blood and ate his flesh, before burying him in a shallow grave. Now, it's clear that he was inspired by the film, and it's reported that he had watched it up to 100 times before committing the vile acts. And finally, in at number 1, Rosemary's Baby. Released in 1968 and directed by Roman Polanski, Rosemary's Baby focuses on a pregnant woman who believes her husband has made a pact with a Satan-worshipping cult, offering up their unborn child as a sacrifice. Now, in 1969, while Polanski was working in London, his pregnant wife, Sharon Tate, was left at their LA home with a few friends, and on the evening August 8th, they were viciously murdered by members of the Manson family, under instruction of Charles Manson. Now, I'm not saying that Manson was inspired by Polanski's film, but it's certainly an odd coincidence, considering Tate was due to give birth 2 weeks after she was brutally murdered. Well, there we have it. What do you guys think? Did you know about these crimes? Were there any that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we can do a part 2. Before I go, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos, Top 5 Scary Demons You Can Actually Summon. Frank Pitt said, "Damn Lucy, where have you been all my life?" In the dark depths of the underworld, Frank, that's where. Red Dragon said, you only had 2 demons on this list, the others were scary games. What the f is up with this list? Well, Red Dragon, the games I listed allow you to summon demons, hence why they are on this list. Please pay attention. James McKinnon said, this video would be much more effective if you demonstrated at least 1 summoning. Well James, according to you guys, I'm already creepy enough. I think summoning a demon would push you all over the edge. Don Barker said, is it just me or is your camera overexposing your face? Actually Don, no, I am just that pale. And finally Andrew Richard said, you seem to use your hands a lot. Not a bad thing, I quite like it. Are you from the UK? If so, where? Well, as you can tell, Andrew, I'm not actually a hand talker, but put me in front of a camera and they just have a mind of their own. And yes, I am from the UK, originally Hertfordshire. If you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary vid. And until next time, see you later.